Hello, and welcome to my channel. My name's CritterXD. In today's video, I will have a very special guest with me, and we are both going to rank from worst to best the characters of Vox Machina in Season 2 of The Legend of Vox Machina. I'm going to get right into the video, but before I do, I will remind you to please like the video if you enjoy it, subscribe to the channel, and hit the little bell for notifications for when I go live or post new content. Let's get into it. I've got a very special guest today for this video where we are going to rank Vox Machina, the characters, from most valuable to least valuable, best to worst, however you want to put it. And that very special guest is my cousin Ben. So welcome, Ben.
Hi, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Thanks for joining. So Ben and I grew up together. We were born 11 days apart. And we went to the same grade school. We went to the same high school. We have a lot of the same interests. We were reading Wheel of Time at the same time. We both read Lord of the Rings in grade school. There's so much that we like simultaneously. And I think it was me, maybe, that turned Ben on to Vox Machina. True?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, well, you're welcome. And so I was really pleased whenever he decided to watch them all. And I'm really curious to see if we have similar or not rankings. So that should be a fun thing to get into. Before we get started, though, I want to kind of like ask him a couple questions so you can get to know him a little bit. Do you have any D&D experience?
Yeah, so I have a little bit. I've played probably 2 or 3 different D&D campaigns, I guess you'd say. Only finished one. I played in 3, and the first one I did was with a couple friends from my college, and it lasted a couple months, and then it kind of petered out. Other stuff got in the way. People got busy. But then we kind of when I was living up in North Dakota in one of the long winters up there, we got a group of like 5 or 6 together, and we walked over to their house in the wintertime, like twice a week, and we would go play. And that campaign we finished, and we had an absolute blast doing it. So nice. I have a little bit of experience, not a lot, but I've enjoyed it every time that I've gotten to do it.
Nice. Yeah, I'm also on the little bit of experience side of the spectrum. I just finished a 4-night campaign. But obviously, that's like nothing. And then the one actual big campaign that I was in, it concluded after several months due to scheduling conflicts. So I think we both have kind of the classic D&D experience. Okay, so if you are playing D&D, what would you consider your ideal sort of class?
I've played a couple of different characters the times that I played. Once I played a paladin, once I played a wizard. But the most fun I ever had was the third time, which was when I got to play a barbarian. And it was one of those characters where, as soon as you walk in the room, I would just run in. Just a very Grog-like character who we'll talk about a little bit later, but just really just jumps into the fray every time. No, doesn't hold back, doesn't wait, doesn't, just punches first and asks questions later. That kind of a character, that's definitely my style as a D&D player. So What about you?
I'm a ranger. I'm a glass cannon, so to speak. I like to stand back and ping things with arrows and big fat arrows sometimes. I'm known for my good rolls. Let's put it that way. Yeah. But usually I'm like elf or half elf, ranger, DPS from a distance. That's who I've always been. I was Tristana in League of Legends. I like to play the Lich King in Dota, I think, if I'm remembering his name right. That's just who I've always been. So I haven't changed. One last thing before we get into the video I will ask is, how would you classify your system of ranking the characters?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question. So when you asked me, about who I thought was worst to best, you asked me that right before the season started. So I was like, I want to try to take like an objective view because I have the characters that I like, right? But I want to take a more objective approach and just think like, who actually accomplishes the most, who does the most stuff like that. Sure. That was to me the kind of the number one thing was who are the characters that are constantly doing things and providing solutions, or who are contributing basically to the situation at hand. That was kind of how I ranked it, best to worst, like biggest contributors across the season to least contributors. What about you?
Maybe kind of like that, but I feel like for me, I looked at them more in like their story arc. If I found it satisfying, if it resonated with me, if it made me like the characters possibly more than I liked them before. Obviously, the contribution to the season and epic moments weighed sort of heavily, but at the same time, it was just, you know, well-roundedness and more like that. So I don't know. It sounds like you're more utility focused than me, but that's okay.
Absolutely. No, that's a perfect word to describe my approach. Was who's the utility characters, right? So,
all right, okay. Well, that's exciting. And all that being said, I think it's time to get into it. So let's start with there's 7 characters in Vox Machina. So the 7th most valuable character, aka the least valuable character in season 2, Pike.
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
No. No.
Percy doesn't surprise me that much. So
why Pike?
Okay. Pike. So for me, she felt like a really, really strong side character this season as far as arc goes. In season 1, she had that cool side quest where she was like finding her religion and all that stuff, and I appreciated that a lot, and I thought it was a great arc. In this season, she kind of just supports like Grog and his personal journey of finding himself and all that stuff. And so I had her as MVP in episode 2 when she was with the Sphinx and she gave that like motivational speech or whatever. That was kind of her shining moment. And then she just sort of bled to the background for me. And so again, I don't think I said this yet. I love all the characters so much. Like, I just want to say that right out of the gate. But I feel like in season 2, as far as art goes, Pike was the least satisfying for me.
Okay. I think that's fair. Honestly, a very similar kind of explanation for why I have Percy last is last season was a lot about Percy as well, right? You got a lot of Percy and Pike and who they were and their backstory. So this season, it kind of just felt like he was in the background the whole time. And one of the ways that I kind of ranked the characters was I had this list that was fluid throughout all the episodes, and it wasn't until I think episode 7 that Percy actually contributed in a major way to basically anything. So, more than half the season went by, and he didn't really do a lot. So, I think that was kind of by design that Percy was not a main character, like one of the main characters in this season, because he was so crucial last season. Yeah. But because of that, I have him in last place. Somebody has to be last, and this season's Percy.
Okay, well, that's a fair choice, and you'll see why in a moment for me. Okay, so the number 6th most valuable character of Vox Machina in season 2, Percy.
Facts.
Like.
Percy.
I'm sorry. That literally kills me. Tell me why, please.
Okay, so Vax is one of those characters that he definitely fits like a stereotypical D&D player role in that every time you play D&D, there's always a player, at least all the times I've played, there's always somebody who kind of wants to be the leader of the group. And depending on the personalities within your group, sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't. And I've found that in Vox Machina often Vax wants to kind of be that leader, right? He wants to be the guy who's like, this is what we're going to do. This is where we're going to go. This is everybody wait here. I'm going to scout ahead. And oftentimes the other players, the other Vox Machina characters don't really listen. So that's kind of part of it with Vax with me is, he wants to be the leader and he kind of struggles in that role. But even after he gets the vestige, it gives him super speed and later on it gives him wings, which is very cool. But he just kind of he's just kind of there. He's really fast and he has super speed and super agility and he can fly around, but it's like, what do you do? What are you actually doing? And in most of these fights, it's like he's running really fast and he's running in circles. He's bouncing off the walls, but he's just running around. Like he doesn't actually what are you getting accomplished, Vax? And it's kind of not a lot. So
that hurts.
I have him down this low because he doesn't really accomplish anything, even with all of his super speed.
I have so many things I want to be like, but he did, but that'll come in later whenever I explain where I put him.
I'm interested to see where you put Vax because you seem pretty upset about my placement.
Yeah, we're very different. Except I picked Percy, so that was close to your choice of him in last. I had him in second last, and for me, It was kind of for the same reason in that we didn't get a lot of personal stuff with him. I really appreciated him with Vex and their little romance. Like, I love that for all of us. Like, I'm a big shipper. And so those scenes, especially in the mid-season, whenever they were in the Fey realm and stuff, I really enjoyed. He made the trap that trapped the dragon for a hot second, so I really appreciated that for him. He was the one who took down the beast in the Fey realm that was chasing Vax, and so, you know, got to give that to him as well. He didn't get...
That's the episode 7 thing. The news. Yeah, that's
the one thing he did. Okay, but like, he didn't get MVP for me in any single episode, but he was kind of up there in several episodes, unlike Pike, who, as I said, kind of like spiked for me in the very beginning and then kind of backed into the background, which is fine. But he was just, you know, he gave Vex the little title whenever he was trying to like impress her dad. There were so many things that he did that I found endearing and cute. And then also the visuals around him were great. Like in some fights, you know, there was this like anime vibe, you know, like a backlit, all you could see was a silhouette and the glint from his glasses. Like there was some really cool stuff that he did that, well, they made him look really cool, which I appreciate that too. So he beat Pike out for those reasons.
Okay, fair enough.
All right, so now the 5th most valuable character in Vox Machina from season 2, Vex.
Grog.
I mean, I know we talked about... Please explain.
Okay, so I know I said earlier this is the character I play, right? I love the Grog character. But in this season, between him struggling internally with the sword that he's got, which obviously makes him very strong, but he's got a lot of issues with that. He stabs Pike, so I think he's the only character that basically kills another one of the team members, which is big negative points, right?
Fair. Not very utility based.
Yeah, he loses all of his strength, you know, and like his physical, like his muscles, all that stuff. So I think he's very up and down in the season, but I have him slightly above Vax because he is always like he's always the tank, right? After every fight, it feels like Pike has to heal him up. Pike's got to go over there and heal something that happened to Grog during the fight. So, you know, I got to give him props that even in his like weakened state, he goes up and he challenges his uncle for like, you know, leadership of the herd, and like he has this like I'm always going to go in. I'm always going to I'm going to be the guy that takes the brunt of the assault, so that the ranger and the wizard and the spellcasters can kind of sit in the back and do their thing. Mm-hmm. So I have to give him some respect for that. And he also does kill Kevdak, so that's a pretty big kill, right? He kills him and gets the gloves or the gauntlets, which make him super powerful. So. You know, I love Grog, but I think this season he fits pretty squarely down here in 5.
Oof. Disagreed.
Well, you have Vex. I have not said Vex yet, so I obviously have her higher. Why do you have her down here?
I just feel like as far as character arc goes, while I really enjoyed, again, the romance with Percy, she didn't have a ton. She had a mid-season kind of like spike where they were in the Fey realm. She got her vestige, which was an incredible fight. They saw their parents or her dad. That guy was terrible, and she was like trying to impress him. So that was like an interesting little bit of story there for a minute. But we didn't get a ton more out of her. But she beat the other two out because of that like super high moment when they were fighting the Fae. The Fae? Archfey. Thank you. When they were fighting the Archfey, and that moment she had when she was just like, my heart belongs to somebody else. That was one of the times in the season that I was literally like, yes! So that for me, like, brought her into like the middle of the pack. Also, the broom thing with Scanlan was hilarious, and her fighting ability just generally, like, she's my favorite character. She's me, essentially, if I were in the campaign. And so, like, I love all the things she does with the elemental arrows once she gets them. She's blazing around on a broom. And, you know, she's just great. I just like her a lot. So, and we got some more of her backstory. Her backstory, which was great because I love Trinket and like they found Trinket and all that stuff. That was fun too. So, anyway, Vox Machina season 2, 4th most valuable character, Keyleth. Okay.
Keyleth. Okay. I disagree. But why do you have Keyleth here as 4?
Okay, she had a really solid season, like a really solid season. But the main arc of her story occurred in one episode. I think that was episode 5, the Avatar: The Last Airbender side quest episode. I don't know that episode had a huge impact on the entire overall story, other than obviously she leveled up her powers and was awesome to see. But for that reason, it felt mildly disconnected from the rest of everything, and it didn't carry on for super long. And even though she's got that super fun little romance, again, I'm a chronic shipper. She's got that cute little romance with Vax, which I love to watch. That wasn't a huge part of the season. I feel like it's not being developed that strongly. You know, we're just getting little crumbs for now. So even though she's probably the most powerful of them all, I'd say if I had to like rank them in terms of power, she's probably the most dangerous. I just feel like as far as overall story arc, she's more middling this season, even though I loved that episode because I loved me some Avatar.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, what about you?
All right, so I have Scanlan as 4. Sure. Scanlan is a very feast or famine character for me. I think he's either doing a lot or he's hiding in the corner. Or, like, you know, there are multiple episodes where he's saying, like, let's run away. And then there's other episodes where, obviously, with the season finale, that he does some pretty incredible things. So, you know, it's a very love-hate thing for me with Scanlan. I have him right in the middle, basically because of that. He has the highest high of the season, and he gets, he delivers the killing blow to the dragon, but he's also the only character who's trying to run away. He's the only character who's trying to retreat and let somebody else deal with this problem. So, he kind of just meets right in the middle for me. If he's not the character that kills the dragon, he probably would be at the very bottom for me, or, 6th place. I just, like, that was his redeeming thing, which is it's a big redemption, but I feel like there's so many scenes, so many episodes where, like, he shoots lightning out of his guitar, and then there's another episode where he just standing in the corner, and in my mind, I'm like, where's the lightning, bud? Like, why are we not throwing lightning around, right? Like, he can lift himself up on, like, float in the hand thing. Well, why aren't you always floating in the hand? Why aren't you always doing so? Like, he's one of those characters that I feel like he could be doing so much more, but he's not. But he does add some levity to the show. He's the comic relief a lot of the times, which I do very much appreciate. Yeah. It keeps the show from taking itself too seriously, mainly because of Scanlan and who his character is. So I definitely appreciate that. But the top 3 were just better than him. So this is where he falls.
Okay, I guess. Oh my gosh, this is too funny. I think we're officially not going to overlap now. The remaining 3 characters are totally different.
You've already said my 3 that are left.
Great. Okay, so let's move on. This is now the top 3. So in the 3rd slot for the most valuable character in Vox Machina in season 2, Scanlan. Okay, so it's close. Yeah. The Scan, I didn't really. It's true. It's pretty close to you. So I'll just kick off because we were just talking about Scanlan. I found that as far as his story, I had a really good time. By the end of season 1, I was appreciating him more as a person, I think, than early in season 1, because he's just basically the comedic relief, right? And all he can think about is like sex and drinking and partying and whatever else. And it's funny, but at a certain point, you don't really take him seriously. In this season, I did take him seriously. Not only did he care for Grog when he was down and out, him and Pike have this like little thing that's really cute, but he has a really hard time being sincere about it because he doesn't really have any faith in himself generally. And you saw that more this season. He was MVP in several episodes for me, I think. MVP in episodes 6 and 11, and a contender in 2, 7, 9. Like he was all over the place. He had a lot of like cool moments, including the Sphinx episode where he like hurt it by making it have feelings or whatever.
Yeah.
Everybody else got worked, and granted, he was like hiding in the corner, which he did several times this season. Eventually, whenever it came down to it, he did what needed to be done, and he got that vestige, so that was pretty awesome. He also had the butthole idea for
Yep, that's
for the
true.
dragon, and he laid the final blow on the last dragon. And again,
Yeah.
he was waiting in the corner, which was driving me absolutely up the wall, but he has reasons to have self-doubt, and it was cool to see that play out. So for like an overall season arc, I thought it was really, really strong, personally.
Yeah, no, definitely all good points. Yeah, I can't disagree with you on any of that stuff. I mean,
Yeah. Oh, and his daughter. Oh my God, the daughter moment. Literally.
the scene was incredible. So funny.
I literally thought she was a dragon. I was waiting for her to become a dragon, and then we found out it was worse.
Yeah,
It was so good.
Not the only way it could be worse than it was.
Yeah, also we got to see a little bit of his friendship with Vax, which I liked too. You know, they kind of confided in each other because they were both struggling in different ways, and so we just got more Scanlan in the best way possible. So yeah. He was number 3 for me.
Yeah, awesome. My number 3 is Vex. And this, as I got higher in the list, the utility of the character started to kind of poke its head out as to who the best characters were. So, to me, Vex, before she gets her vestige, she's always contributing. Like, if you're watching the show, you're always seeing these arrows like plinking off stuff, right?
Yeah.
So she's always in there and contributing, but she really starts to become effective after she gets the vestige. I mean, she's got all these different tools at her disposal. She gets the broom so she can fly. There are a number of times where she saves people with that. She's got the elemental bow, so she shoots like the vines out of it, right, which can grab stuff or which can shield things. She shoots fire out of it. She shoots the lightning arrows, which light up the dragon when he goes invisible. And she has the bear, which is pretty cool.
We love Trinket.
And the pocket. Yeah, the pocket portal as well. So she uses pocket portal. That's how Grog kills his uncle, right? He gets the kill on Kevdak because she drops him from the sky. And so, I think she has a lot of utility. She's always, like I said at the very beginning, she's always contributing to the cause. She's always contributing to the success of the team. And there are a number of times where without her, they don't succeed or she saves somebody's life. So I think that going forward with the vestige, especially, she's going to be a very powerful character. But in this season, I also think she was a very valuable character. She's one of the most effective and best characters of this season.
I'm not inclined to argue with you because again, she's like my self-insert. So great, yeah. Absolutely, number 3, 100%. Agni agrees. You can't really see. All you can see is the fluff, but he's here. We're down to the top 2. So the number 2 most valuable Vox Machina member of season 2, Vax.
Vax. So
I know we really missed each other on this.
Oh yeah, I got Pike and you got Vax, and those are 2 of our lowest for the others. I'll go first.
Please.
I'll jump in with Pike. So I was very surprised when you had Pike at the bottom. First, she's the only character that can heal. So at the end of every fight, it seems like she's going over to help somebody out to heal them. She saves her own life, but she heals people and saves people in basically every episode, I think. But more than that, she just has. We see a number of different things that she can do this season that maybe I'm not remembering the first season, but I don't think we saw from her. So one, she has, I think, second or third episode, she has these visions of what the dragons are doing, of what's going on elsewhere. So she shows that a little bit in season 1, I think. But, that's another power and ability she has that other characters don't. She's got the mace that she makes out of light, which is obviously pretty cool, but I think more important than that, she's got the shield that she makes out of light. So with this season being so focused on the poison dragon and him being able to spew this like acid or poison, whatever you want to call it, that just melts people, her having a shield, there are a number of times, probably 4 or 5 times where she throws up the shield to save people's lives, which she doesn't do that. They just die. They just melt, So
fair.
I think, all of that kind of stuff combined, every episode, in every situation, she is contributing, whether the team is on offense or on defense, right? If they're running away, she's still healing people. She's still shielding people. And if they're moving forward, she's throwing the hammer or the mace, or she's shooting the big light out of the sky, the huge ray of light that shoots down,
Yeah.
So she, Pike just is always contributing. No matter what the situation is, she's always doing something. So her highs aren't as high as a lot of the other characters, but she basically does not have a low because she's always doing things. She's always contributing.
Consistency.
So that's why I have her. Yeah. Yep. So that's I have her up at number 2. So I am interested to see how you have Vax so high.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I will admit, Pike was at the back for me, but again, I focused on story more than anything else because I'm a character-driven girly. All right. And so, like, in my defense, I will admit any day of the week that if I had to pick one party member from Vox Machina to be in my personal party, it would be Pike. Because out of self-interest alone, because she could protect me or heal me or whatever. So I get it. I mean, based on our different rankings, it totally makes sense. So Vax, I was blown away by your ranking for Vax because not only did he get the vestige by sacrificing his life for his sister, or basically agreeing to sacrifice his life for his sister, he got really broody, obviously, from it, but then kind of overcame that and reached a greater state of enlightenment all in just the arc of one season. You know what I mean? And so it was so good to see. Not only that, but he had the fun Kiki romance, even though he was just completely oblivious to it most of the time. He saved Scanlan's life whenever they dropped out of the dragon, grew wings, and then without him, basically motivating them / forcing them to continue the fight in the final episode, they would not have defeated the dragon. He convinced them that they needed to keep fighting, and even if he didn't get to lay the final blow, there's no way they would have succeeded without him. And so overall, his arc to me was it was him, through the power of deduction, you know who my number 1 is, but I'm not going to say it just to be coy. But like, it was a real battle between him and my number 1 for the number 1 spot, because he was not only high utility in my opinion, but he was also a really great story arc. So that's why. Is that shocking?
No, I mean, not at all. I think from a story perspective, I think Vax's story this season is probably, in my opinion, probably the second most compelling. I liked Grog's story the most, probably, but I think that Vax certainly has a very good story this season, and I think they focus a lot on that. Thinking back to like season 1, Percy was one of my favorite characters because you learn so much about it. You hear about Pike. I really liked her, but you get that backstory, and I do think that makes you like grow closer to a character and like them more.
Yeah.
So Vax certainly had that in spades this season, which was good to see. I'll be interested to see how they kind of further flesh that out in the future, especially his. He's kind of got some daddy issues, so how do they resolve that in the coming seasons? You know? I
think he could just not be bothered by their dad. It's Vax who's like really, she just like really wants to please him, whereas Vax is just like, he can, that's true. I'm fine. We can move on. And also, like, I will admit that as far as voice acting goes, I have like a voice actor crush on Vax's voice. Like, I love his voice. Oh, yeah. So that probably had some part in it, but like not that much. He had a great arc. Oh, yeah. So.
No. Side note to that. So I, back in the day, played a ton of Warcraft 3, ton of WoW, and the voice actor that does Illidan Stormrage's voice is Vax. It's
no kidding.
I've always thought Illidan has the coolest voice. Like, I always thought it was awesome, and it's the same guy that does Vax. Okay. So, Illidan is my favorite character in all of Blizzard products, all of them, all the games. I played them all. He is my number 1, and that's the guy that voices him. So, yeah, definitely. I definitely hear what you're saying. He has the best voice, I think.
So we do still have some things in common then. That's amazing. Great to see. Okay, so all that being, we did your number 2, right?
Yep,
we did your number. Okay, we're down to the number 1. Through the power of deduction, you probably know who each of our picks are, but just for the sake of habit or formality, the number 1 most valuable character on Vox Machina in season 2, Grog. Okay, so when you literally just said like, oh yeah, he was probably my second favorite arc, Grog probably had the best arc, you're right, he did. and that's why I picked Grog. It was tough though. It was really, really tough. I feel like Grog strikes the perfect balance this season between comedic relief and like a really compelling arc. It was heartwarming. It was kind of inspirational. It was all about friendship, which you love to see. Him and Pike are adorable together constantly, and it's not a romantic thing. I don't only ship romances. I think their sibling like relationship where they like sing the traveling song and how he knows her. Is it a great grandpa? I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, I don't know. There's a couple of greats.
Like that is the sweetest thing ever. And then you also got his flashbacks to those absolutely brutal times, which to me was probably the biggest, like grossest, meanest fighting that we've seen so far in Vox Machina. And then having him like turn because he didn't want to hurt the little people just like killed me. And then the whole season we were trying to figure out where he gets his strength from, right? Because they teased it in episode 2 and it was kind of just like, okay, but where, you know? And then he literally gets his muscles taken away because of the sword, which I thought was a really cool part of the season because it reminded me of Matt's dagger. It reminded me of Nightblood from the Cosmere. There were like just elements of the cursed sword that really captured my attention. And then he defeated the sword, which was amazing. But then he lost his strength, right? And then he really had to figure out where his strength came from. I'm basically just telling you the whole story right now of the whole season, so I apologize for that.
Keep going.
And then he decided that he was going to fight Kevdak regardless, and then ultimately came to the conclusion that his strength came from his friends at the moment that they rolled in to the battle. Like, it was just such a satisfying series of events throughout most of the season, not to mention he was MVP in most episodes for me. It was episodes 3, 7, 9, and 10. And he was so strong. See what I did there? This season. Hey! So I love him. I love him to death. I thought he did great, and I can't wait to see how he takes the gauntlets and beats up dragons next season, hopefully. So.
Oh, yeah. I think story-wise, what Charlie said, Grog, I think Grog has the best one. But I think a really interesting thing that they do with Grog this season is that they take a character that has a morally, like, bad, if not evil background, right? They take this character that used to just kill for sport and kill for fun and take things.
Yeah.
And you see that. I mean, they show that. They show that that's who he used to be. He used to be one of the herd. And now he's kind of reformed himself. He's a different person, right? Or a different half giant or whatever he is. But he's different. He's on the side of good. And now he fights for good. And, you know, the way that Vox Machina, I think, took what could have been like, a lot of people might have really hated that, right? Like, see, okay, this guy used to be a wanted murderer. Well, I don't like him anymore. But the way that they did it, I think, was really well done. And I think that he comes out of the season looking really good and had just a great season, I think. Yeah. So I have a Keyleth as number 1. So you mentioned it earlier, but we basically learned that Keyleth is Avatar: The Last Airbender in this season.
Yeah.
There's a whole other couple series you can go watch about her and other incarnations of her.
Yeah.
But it was really neat to see this, like, she grew up in the air with the air people, and there's the fire people or the water people. It's very much like the Avatar series. But in terms of best in the season, I have Keyleth as number 1 because, similar to Pike, she contributes in every single situation. So whether they're on offense, whether they're on defense, she's always doing things. There are a number of times this season where, you know, she'll reach a vine out, pull a character out of harm's way, or she'll throw vines up as a wall. And then on the other side of it, she grabs enemies up with vines. She goes nuclear, or whatever you want to call it, when she turns into this fire monster.
Elemental, I think, is the term of art.
She just starts like raging on all the, you know, whether it's like the Ents or the treants, whatever those are that come to life, or the fire demons in her like episode that's all about her. So I think that Keyleth is just always contributing, right? It's similar to Pike, but she's, I think, a little bit higher on that scale of she's a constant contributor no matter what the situation is, good or bad. She's always doing things. And like you said earlier, I think you hit the nail on the head that she is, in my opinion, the most powerful character of all of them. She has, I think, the most innate power. And you take the vestiges away, she's head and shoulders above everybody except Pike, I think. Yeah. So, you know, that also kind of contributes, is that, you know, all of her power is kind of innate. She just has to unlock it. So, yeah, I have Keyleth as the number 1 character for this season.
I mean, fair. Like, she's really strong, so I get it. And her episode was awesome. Like, just awesome. It was a really, really cool episode. How she, like, walked through the veil and, you know, again, also had a kind of a personal epiphany, and she was great. We love her. She's also so cute. Like, of all the characters, I just have this, like, she's so endearing in the way that she holds herself and the way that she interacts with Vax. And in the one episode, whenever Vax went to see the Matron of Ravens again, it might have been episode 11, when Vex was following Vax, and Vax was like, "You can come out now," and then she was like, "It's in the Kiki pops out." She's like, "Oh, you guys are really quiet." Like, all of that stuff is so cute. She's just so lovable. So I totally get it. Why?
Yeah, she has this like innocent quality to her. You know, like she just has like almost like this childlike innocence to her that she's absolutely endearing is the perfect word. She's a very endearing character.
For sure. So as expected, based on our initial discussion about what our rankings would be based on, we were a little different, just a little bit different. But I think that goes to show that no matter what you're looking for in characters in a show like this, you know, everybody has something they can find and appreciate. So it's interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that each of the characters brings their own flavor to the show. And Vox Machina does a really good job of not highlighting one character over the course of multiple episodes to the detriment of all the others. It's kind of this character goes up, and then the next episode this one comes up, and then, you know, it's like they're all, you know, I would say with the exception of Percy, all of the characters had their time in the sun this season, and that's because the sun was on him all of last season. And I think they do a good job of juggling the characters so that you feel connected to all of them. You feel like there are things that you like about each character specifically, and they're different for each character, but they do a good job of making them all likable so that ranking of 1 through 7 is actually quite difficult because you like all the characters.
It's hard. Okay, perfect. Well, that was awesome. Thank you so much for doing that and taking notes while you were watching and everything. Fascinating, honestly. Fascinating, the people that you picked and how you ranked them. Stick around. Well, don't stick around. Just keep your eyes peeled on my channel because we are also going to be doing 2 separate episode ranking videos because that's 12 episodes, so we'll do 6 and 6, and we'll see if we're as different in the episode rankings as we were in the character rankings, or if possibly we have some overlap. What do you think? Do you have a prediction?
You know, I think based on what we valued in characters, I think we are also probably going to value different things in the episode. So I'm expecting there to be a lot of disparity. But who knows? We might be right in line. We'll see. We'll
see. Time will tell. Okay, well, thank you so much for joining me. Thank you so much for watching. I cannot believe how different we were in our character rankings, but I think it really goes to show what we both look for in a show and in characters. Before I sign off, I want to remind you one last time to please like the video if you haven't yet, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell for notifications. Also, if you want to elevate your support for me, even though all support is appreciated, you can become a patron on Patreon or a member on YouTube. And don't forget to keep your eyes peeled for the episode ranking videos that will be coming out very soon.